Neil Hall, Building Zoning Official, request approval to purchase a 2015 Jeep Cherokee Latitude four-wheel sport utility for $19,000 and $1922. Neil?
Yeah, Madam President, I'll have Neil present this case.
Good evening, Council. This is an attempt, obviously, to bring my department up to speed as to what's required for me to be out on the road, have a four-wheel drive vehicle which I can get to different situations, whether it's a fire or a situation that may involve a job site where a four-wheel drive would be needed. I've been through, I think, 4 very used vehicles since I've been here in 2 years. They're all hand-me-downs. I won't bore you with the years and the mileage. I can only tell you that 4 vehicles in 2 years is pretty ridiculous as far as I can go. As far as the maintenance of the vehicles, one thing after another, it seems like it's a never-ending issue with this department. So basically, before you, what I have is a budget. Budget committee appropriated $14,000 during the budget process. I have looked this over with the town administrator to try to come up with some funds out of my department, and really the only thing I have would be the vehicle expense that hopefully wouldn't be needed, and that'll probably be $1,500 that I am able to contribute out of my auto expense, leaving the deficit of $3,522, which is what I'm looking for from the council.
Any questions from the council?
Madam President,
Council Edwards?
I just have one, I guess, sort of comment, is the use of the council contingency fund, and I'll back this up by saying 4 vehicles in 2 years is absurd, and we should just get you something that's going to work and not break down every 6 months. But I'm leery on the council contingency fund just because we still haven't gone through winter yet, and I don't feel like the DPW department has enough budgeted for a significant winter event, and it feels to me like this year temperatures are already dropping below where they were this time last year, and that concerns me going forward.
Any other questions from the council?
Madam President,
Councilor LeBeau?
I had a conversation earlier this week because I was worried about the winter as well with the DPW director, and he seems to think he's all set for 4 major storms. So I just hate to do it, but I disagree. I think we should buy Neil a car.
Councilor Hilton?
I have to say that I am in agreement with Councilor Edwards a little bit. I'm worried about taking money out of this, out of the contingency fund for a vehicle. But I also have a question about your automobile expense account. Isn't what your automobile expense account, isn't that your gas account?
No. No, that's for vehicle maintenance. Vehicle maintenance is in that account. That is strictly automobile expenses, tires, brakes. It's been used for a number of different things.
And I think the balance on that,
Yeah, go ahead.
excuse me, Madam President, I think the balance on that was 23, 22 as of either this run that the treasurer did or the one
Yeah,
before.
it's very close to 22.
Right, but I just want to be sure on this because I think I looked today, and that's actually the account that your fuel gets billed back to the DPW. So, let me just find your, I have this in my budget here. Building and zoning, automobile expense. So, this isn't the current budget run, but it's 6913, which is automobile expenses, and there's 2,500 budgeted for the year. Is this the same account we're talking about?
Yes.
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 Okay, so that automobile expense account is, and I asked the treasurer to look for me, because I didn't know what it was. And that's your fuel account, so that your monthly fuel charges, when you fill up at the DPW garage,
No, I think she's wrong. I would disagree, and I would, it is not my fuel.
okay, there's some confusion here, but I have right here 2 reports from the town treasurer for account 6913, automobile expenses. And in fiscal year 16, we had $2,000 in that budget, and it went over by 1418. So we had to transfer 1418 into that account. And for fiscal year 15, 16, and for fiscal year 16, 17, the budget was 2,500, and it was short. We had to transfer 1824 in it. And the monthly, it would make sense that there's about 2,300 in it right now, or 20-something?
Looks like 2317.
Yeah.
Okay, because the monthly fuel bills for that, the fuel invoices run anywhere between like $234 and $419 a month in fuel. So I am a little fearful that if you take that money for the car, you may have a car, but I'm not sure you will have any gas for it.
I was never aware of that, to be honest with you, and that's pretty amazing, because when I had discussed this with the former town administrator, that fuel was not coming out of this. This was strictly for my expense of brakes, maintenance of the vehicle.
Yeah, but Neil, if you look at your accounts, I don't see where else the fuel would come out of. There's no fuel account. So
I understand
I'm
that.
not quite. You know
I
what
was told it was part of the
Okay.
DPW.
Madam President.
That's what I was.
I think Councilor Perry wants to ask a question.
Yeah, looking at this vehicle, it's a 4-cylinder. He's going to save gas on a 4-cylinder compared to the 8-cylinders vehicles that he's been using. You're going to save money on repairs because it's a newer vehicle. So I think it'll work. Yeah, it's got the warranty.
But I think Councilor Hilton did bring up a good point, though. That account that we have transferred money into all last year is lower than it's been. We lowered that account. And we still have to spend money on gas. We do have to agree to that. And there's a lot of gas being charged to that account because Neil takes it back and forth home and back. So I have concerns that she does that we may run out of money in that account.
Madam President,
Counselor?
actually, the one question I had was, where is this vehicle going to be kept? And so you're saying that you take the vehicle?
I'm on call 24 hours a day. By the charter rule, I have to have a vehicle, and I am on call 24 hours a day.
Right.
Go ahead, sorry.
I mean, that's fine, but
Continue.
you could still take your car, bring it to the...
Every time there's a fire, okay, then I'll come here, if that's what you want. But when I was hired, I was told I had a vehicle here to take home.
Is that part of your contract?
I was told that was my vehicle to take
It
home.
isn't in your contract, though.
I was told, okay,
No, I'm just asking. In your contract, it says we may
okay.
give you a car.
Well, I may show up, I guess.
You're out of order, You're out of order, Neil. Okay.
I think it's a fair question for me to ask, because it's come up with other people. So it's like when you answered me about you're on 24 and you go, that's fair, and it's a fair answer. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just asking you, and I think I asked you respectfully.
And I answered you respectfully.
Not really.
I did.
Okay, none of that. Joe?
Yeah, I believe it's at
Councilor
the
Perry?
discretion of the administrator.
Yes.
And if the former administrator, had that agreement with him, we don't know.
Right, we don't know.
Right.
Did you want to say something, Mr. McGreevy?
Yes, I did. I've had the same brain cramp that Tony had earlier. It'll come to me in a moment.
Any other questions from the council?
I do have one other question. Do we have to go out to bid on this car? This doesn't seem to be a bid item here. Do we have to go out to bid on this car?
I asked those questions, and apparently, this is a sole source procurement under section 45-55-8.
Just
So is that a yes or a no?
It's the proposal here is that this is a sole source procurement purchase that does not need to be bid. That's the answer that I got for this,
From
and-
who?
and
From, where'd you get that answer from?
For me.
from Paul.
Okay. Well, I'm just
I asked-
asking.
I asked the question,
But you really
but-
didn't say where that.
I asked the question whether or not it had been bid, or whether or not this was part of some master price agreement. I just asked the question. The answer was, this purchase is under sole source.
Madam President, we-
I think, oh, yes, go ahead.
are we talking about the 3522 or the 1500 right now? How much money are we short to have Neil have a car?
well,
Well, it's in his thing, Randy.
If
Well, I
I-
have it here, but I don't know which one we're talking about.
Madam President, I remembered what I wanted to say or ask, and that's actually to your question. So the problem we had when we were looking at this, and we knew we needed more than 14,000 to get something that was low mileage, four-wheel drive and so forth. We knew it was going to be over the 14,000 that's in his line item for a new vehicle. And his budget, regardless of the confusion around whether that line item, 2,500 line item is fuel or not, there's not much money in his budget to do anything, as you can see. Much of it is programmed for something that is going to be spent, and the only money available was the 2,500. If indeed that is where the gas is coming from, that only exacerbates his budget problem. He doesn't have the 4,000, 5,000 that he needs to be able to purchase this vehicle. And so if there's 1,000 available from his budget and we leave the other 1,300 for gas, or he needs the whole 2,300 for the rest of the year, then, as I say, the problem we have is now that it's a $5,000 question. We need either from the contingency fund, or I need to go look and find for another place in the budget to take it.
I have a suggestion, but did the police chief leave? Because he's probably not going to be happy with this suggestion, but it is really true that his tires, parts, and maintenance account is growing, and that's because of what's going on down
Oh, the police.
with the detail. I mean, it really is growing, and it's going to be growing all year. Is there a way we could take money from there? Because we know, I know. Well, you're leaving. What do you care right now? So, but if we could take it from there, and we have assurance that that will increase, because it's increasing by $2,000 a month right now, and probably more once we get things going over there.
If the council is comfortable with this particular policy choice of getting the building officer roughly a $20,000 car that is more capable and more reliable than he has, anything is possible as far as where we get the money from.
Well, would you consider
Absolutely.
that account?
Because, I mean, it sort of goes back to the conversation we had last session when you used the contingency fund for some underfunded associations that were done. At the end of the year, we'll
It
sort
all
this.
meshes.
It'll all mesh together. Whether we take it out of contingency now and then Chief Blakey's budget later, or Chief Blakey's budget now and contingency later, when we know how the year turns out, we can work it out.
Well, I just don't feel responsible taking from an account that we've had to add to all year long. Like, we already know this counts as short. And we did reduce this account by, I think, $500 as such. Well, we reduced it at the new budget, so that's what's worrying me, because we know that this account runs short. He still needs gas, and he probably is going to spend that on gas. But there is another account, Chief Blakey's account over here, that's growing very quickly. We got the roundabout coming, so there's going to need more detail. There's more building that's going to go on there. So that is an account that we should watch, because I feel more comfortable knowing there's an account growing instead of we're taking and reducing it. I don't know how the rest of you feel about this.
Madam President?
Yes.
I have one question for the administrator. Maybe you can help me out with this one, but with the casino, are we not gaining significant revenue from the building official's office? I mean, is there not revenue coming
No.
in?
No,
No?
no,
Will there be?
no. What will be paid there is the amount of money for the consultants that are being brought in, as well as the cost, just the cost of the inspections that will take place. So there'll be no excess revenue.
Okay.
I just feel very uncomfortable taking from that 1060 account, because we've been putting money in there. And I also, I mean, whether we take it from council contingency or the chief's account, I like to call it that because of the look he's giving me, doesn't really matter, like you said.
Exactly. And from a management point of view, you know, the money comes out of the fund that is, as you say, growing, or at least is sufficiently funded at the moment. And indeed, if Neil needs to buy gas out of his $2,500, we can't, we're just moving the money around unnecessarily. So,
Madam President?
Yes, counsel.
To me, it's like, he's had problems with his office, you know, being, I think, perpetually short of funding. And I just as soon let him have the car. And, you know, especially if he has to replace a car every 6 months. And it's like, we've got a lot of other things that we're, I mean, it's almost like we're in the budget season, but we're not in the budget season. We're starting it early because we liked it so much. So we're, you know, taking little bits and pieces here and there, and it's kind of like, you know, I think, I would say, you know, he's, you know, to let it go, let him have that money, and then you've got a budget to work on pretty soon, and you also have a 5-year plan to work on, and that would be very useful to have both of those. But for now, it's just like, I think there's problems in that office, and I think we're holding it back too much. That's my feeling.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilor LeBeau.
we can fix it. We got a bunch of crap cars, junk cars. Why don't we just scrap them all and give them the money? We got $5,000 worth of scrap cars sitting around.
Well, I think that's something that we can discuss and look at the inventory of cars,
Yeah.
and that's a good point. Maybe we could look at that and scrap cars, I guess.
Yeah, we'll go negotiate for them. Right, Neil? Me and you will go up there and negotiate.
Chief Blakey, of course you want to say something.
First, it's Chief Cinderella. Just to be, you know, again, I don't want to, my person that inherits the police department, I don't want that to become the new paving account. We keep taking money from those areas. Please remember that we did not get any cars this year, and several of my cars, the warranties are now off of those cars, so my maintenance account will need more money, but again, it's just a point that's got to be made.
Right, it will, but what I'm talking about taking is $1,500 from there.
That's not a
I'm
problem.
not taking,
Well, if it's anybody for Neil, I'd say okay, but no.
well, no,
Please,
you're,
that's not going to break the bank.
right, and we have been buying new cars, and your cars are so much better than what the building
I
inspector
understand.
is doing.
But I'm just letting you know, that there are cars that are they're out of warranty, but $1,500, $2,000 is not going to hurt it.
Madam
Okay.
President?
Whatever you need to do.
John, Councilor Edwards.
Sorry. The only thing I would suggest is, I know that we did budget for 2 part-time clerks, one for the fire department and one for the building official. And as of yet, those positions have not been filled, and I wonder if we could take 3 months' worth of either position salary that we budgeted and apply it to this in lieu of taking money out of the contingency fund and the code auto expense fund.
Madam President, I would recommend against that because I think one of the goals of the workshop that we will have is how we spend that $90,000 in salaries on some combination of planners, clerks, and building, zone enforcement officer. So I would like to keep that 90K fenced until we have some sort of agreed plan by the council.
How about my friend in the fire department, Chief Lloyd? Can we take some of his clerk money?
He's hired his clerk,
He's got it?
yes.
Oh?
Nothing.
Madam President?
Yes, Councilor.
I have to say, I feel just about as strongly as Counselor Edwards on this, I think, in that I really don't want to take this money out of the contingency fund. I'm okay with finding the money someplace else, but I really don't want to, this early in the year, be taking money out of the contingency fund. It's not enormous, and it's there for contingencies, and so I'm not sure. I mean, I appreciate Chief Blakey's offer, although he says he's going to have so much overtime left. I'm just wondering if we couldn't maybe borrow a little, since he is getting 5 new police officers, that maybe he couldn't find a little bit out of his maintenance account or his overtime account to help us here.
If I could suggest, if that being the case, the motion would be to approve the purchase, subject to the funds not coming from council contingency and delegating to the town administrator, finding the best source of the appropriation in the budget.
So moved.
And with the few suggestions that we gave you, maybe that could be some ideas. Do I have a second? Okay. Motion's been made at second. Any further discussion?
Just one point. I know the motion that the solicitor threw out there was to exclude the council contingency fund, but if possible, I'd like to lump in that 1,500 as well, if
Oh, yeah, both.
both,
The
for
code.
both.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
Then-
The message is find the money elsewhere.
So it's $5,000 is what we're talking about.
Okay, so we have a motion.
5,22.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Neil.
Financial Business Town Administrator, Tiverton Wastewater District Chair Leroy Kendricks, Community Septic System Loan Program Authorization for the Town Administrator to obtain financing for Tiverton residents' septic system repairs through the CSSLP program. 1A is Solicitor's Memorandum, 1B is Treasurer's Comments. Welcome, and thank you for waiting so long. It seems like you always do when you come.
Yeah. Where do I go to get some moved up on the agenda?
Yep, Madam President, if I may, is
ahead.
a slight introduction
Yeah.
to the issue here. So this was probably put on my desk maybe within a week of me coming here. And it was a simple request to extend the lending authority for the Tiverton wastewater district on this program. It was explained to me what the program is, and the program is a very excellent program, which we touched a little bit on earlier when the Office of Energy Resources was here, and the septic problem that we were discussing around the restaurant licensing. But what concerned me was that the program's inception was in 2006, at which time the wastewater district was part of the town. And we were guaranteeing loans, and that's what this issue is. We're guaranteeing loans on a town function, a town municipal function. In the last few years, it's now a separate entity, and I simply wanted a understanding, both by myself and by the treasurer and by our solicitor and now the council, that we are guaranteeing loans for an allied but nonetheless separate government entity. But we feel with the solicitor looking at it and the treasurer that the risk is low to the town. And Leroy can talk to the specifics of the program and to the loan program and how it's been going for the last few years. But needed the council to understand that you are guaranteeing loans. And currently, there's about 500,000 that you have guaranteed over the last several years, and they are asking for authority to guarantee up to 900,000 additional.
So, just to add a little bit more information, we did an inspection program last year. I think we were expecting to do about 250 inspections last year, and we actually exceeded by doing 500 inspections. Well, that revealed some 20-odd failed systems. And so each resident is able to borrow up to $25,000 to fix or replace their system. So if you do the math, 25 times 20 is a substantial amount of the $900,000 if they all took the maximum amount. And so it was recommended to us by the infrastructure bank that instead of trying to do $300,000 whacks at a time, just to go with a bigger allocation so that we wouldn't be doing this every year. As we inspected, we sent out 500 notices. We got back around 300. So that means there's 200 people out there that have not either had their systems inspected. And you would have to expect that a fair number of those haven't inspected because they think they have a problem. And so depending on the council and inspection program in the future, there's going to be future needs. So just to clarify one thing, the on-site program for the town is the town's responsibility, and to this point you've contracted the Tiverton Wastewater District to administer that program for you. So the district does not own wastewater on-site systems. The town is responsible per the 2003 wastewater management plan. So this isn't for the district. This is for the 6,000 residents in town that have on-site systems. So, and if you read the information, I think Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank that has said in all of the whole program there's been 0 defaults. So the risk is indeed very low.
Any questions from the council?
Madam President,
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
I just have one, and I think it relates to the number of on-site wastewater systems we have. But how soon will a number of those be shifting to sewer systems and then essentially off the responsibility of the town?
So the year one, phase one project is going out to bid in October. We're just waiting for one more easement, and with luck, the bids will come in where we need them to come in, and we're going to try to remove about 250 or 260 people for that phase one. We have authorization for phase 2 and 3, so depending on the votes and that sort of thing, we're looking at about the same number, 250 people at a whack. So if we get funding and successful on all 4 phases that we've had authorized to date, maybe we'll remove about 1,000 people from the 6,000 in town.
So still a significant number of people that we have to worry about.
Absolutely. The town is, the district is a very limited geographic area, and so it's limited to just a certain area in Tiverton that would benefit from sewers. A vast majority of the Tiverton town would not benefit from sewers. It's not economically feasible.
I asked because I'm one of those people, so thank you.
I am too.
Any other questions from the council? Attorney DeSisto, did you want to say something? I saw you go for the microphone. No?
No, just to say that basically this program has to be administered through the town. That's what we get from the state entities. And Mr. Kendricks is correct. This is something that needs to be done in order for this program to go forward.
Well, if there's no further discussion, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Madam President,
Mr. Edwards?
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the town administrator to obtain financing for Tiverton residents' septic system repairs through the C-SLIP program in conjunction with Tiverton Wastewater. And one note in that motion, I think the authorization that we have here just needs to be changed for different roles on the council.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
We're going to move you up next time.
Thank you very much. And just so give an opportunity, I'd like to invite any of the councilors to come by our new office.
I saw it.
And it's very nice to be in a place that's good for us. And hopefully we'll have a booth at the Pardon Gray event. So we'll stop by and talk to us. I'll be there in the morning. Thank you.
Is it on sewer?
It is.
At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to bring F3 up because Jerry Larkin looks like it's time for bed over there. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Dr. Larkin? On the school committee chair, Jerome Larkin, requests to waive town permitting and plan review fees for school building repairs. Welcome, and thank you for waiting also.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing us to come before you, and for, of course, moving us up. I'm here with Mrs. Black, Mrs. Pavo, Mrs. Farnworth from the committee are also in the audience, as well as members of our building committee, Sue Zimick, Jim Odell, Dave Perry, and Kelly Levesque. So we have been working through the process of the school renovation approved under the bond in 2016. You have two pieces of paper, and I think the most useful one is the one labeled Tiverton School Department Bond Information Sheet for 9/11 Town Council Meeting, and that basically can walk you through kind of our financing to date and estimation of bids and things like that. So we undertook a facility study in 2013-14, and it was estimated that we needed $25 million, $372,000 in capital improvements. The final recommendation of the building committee, after working through that and looking at what was essentially the HVAC and roof of the middle and high school, was about $15 million. We thought that's what the level of debt that the town could support. And that was approved by bond in November 2016. Because this was also approved by RIDE, the entire $25 million plan, we are eligible for up to 38 to 40% of reimbursement because these are issues of health and safety. The original bid from Allberg Construction as our general contractor was for $15.3 million with a $1 million contingency and $900,000 in architectural fees, which brought the total bid significantly above our bonded amount at $17.3 million. We returned to the general contractor and said that's not good enough, and we found $1.7 million in savings. Now, that's where we get to the second sheet, which is the suggested scope and value engineering revisions. And what I'd like to call your attention to is item number 6, which is that we were going to ask the town council to waive the permitting and plan review fees, and that was for an amount of $55,000. So of that $1.7 million, we're asking for waiving of fees that we estimate to be $55,000. That's actually a highball number. We thought it's probably as low as $35,000, but we didn't want to be, and for a couple minutes I thought, well, why don't we put in $35,000? But we wanted to be, completely transparent about this. So it's about $55,000 that we estimate would be the permitting and plan review fees. It's also notable that several items on this suggested scope and value engineering revisions are actually liabilities that the contractor is taking on. So in particular, number 1, where they are hoping that they're going to have some savings in doing the installation of the roof. If they don't make those savings, then they are actually eating that. So this is sort of, the $55,000 is something that the school committee, and hopefully if you choose to waive it, the town will take on. Make 2 other points. So the question is, why would you do this? Well, of course, the buildings are actually the town property and serve not just the schools and the students, but our emergency shelters and of course serve all other types of town organizations. We also are facing probably much more over the next 5 to 10 years in terms of needed improvements, and we have tried to keep every single capital item over the last 5 years off of new budget requests that have come from our reserve. Tonight, there's actually a preliminary forum on the state's estimation of school need for renovation or building statewide. So the school department makes a report to the Rhode Island Department of Education every 2 years and says, this is the status of our buildings. 2 years ago, they actually estimated that we needed $40 million in total renovations. That's based on the age of the buildings and a lot of other things. We think it's probably still closer to 25 million, but we will be getting a new number in the next couple weeks about exactly what it's going to cost us to maintain this asset. If we went to build new high schools or a new high school or a new middle school, it'd be somewhere in the range of about $200 million. So this is really asset protection for the town, for the school department, for the community as a whole. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Mrs. Black?
Mrs. Demidaris? Okay. So a number of things. Dr. Larkin mentioned how they rate all the towns and the schools. So the last time they did it, it's rated from 1 to 5. 1 is good and 5 is not good. Last time we got 3 1s because the town has invested in our elementary schools. If we hadn't done that, we would have gotten 5 bad scores. So that was excellent. The other thing is the bond was $15,438,230. 35% is the lowest. Now, when we did the elementaries, Mr. Demidaris will remember, it was 31%. Representative Edwards been fighting, and we go up every year and testify, Mr. Fiore and myself, to get that up. It's wealth-based, so we're up to 35, and as he said, with energy conservation, asbestos abatement, it could go up to a 4% bonus. So the bond was that much. The town of Tiverton will get $5,403,381 for sure, and it could go up another $617,529. That is not guaranteed. We have to fight for that. We have to go through a long, laborious process with RIDE to say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. They say, no, that's not acceptable, then we have to change it. It took us a few years to even get this approved, and we did do it, and this is good news for the town, because the town will be getting that back. Because I know everything tonight's about numbers, and I feel badly even coming here asking for anything when I see we need cars, and I go to every budget committee meeting. I know about every single department and how much we all need. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
And just one last comment about that. So that's actually money that's returned to the town. It's not returned to the school department to use. Thanks.
Any other, any discussion?
Madam President,
Councilor Edwards?
just one item, since you mentioned going to fight for it. Will the state look favorably upon the school department when you go to fight for those additional bumps if we waive this?
It is always useful to say that the town has supported us, through all of these, not just this, but the elementary schools. I have to say, the taxpayers of Tiverton have been very generous to the schools.
Any other questions?
Madam President, can you guys pony up $5,000 for the guy's car? You got 55, we'll give you 50.
I don't think
I
we
would
can
say
do that.
unequivocally that I'd be happy to do so, but I am
All right, we'll take it.
I am statutorily barred from doing so.
All right, we're just asking.
Councilor Hilton?
President, I have just a question for, I think for Paul. These inspections are all inspections that we would do internally, correct? I mean, these aren't fees or inspections where we have to go out and hire a third party to actually do them, correct?
I don't know the answer to that.
I believe that's the case.
All I can say is my experience building the 3 elementaries, it was all done inside. I don't, and Sally was with me. I don't think we hired anybody from the outside because we dealt with the plumbing inspector and the electrical inspector every day. So
So the school department undertook this. If you waived the fee, they would be basically going to if it was an outside inspector, they'd be going to the inspector and they'd say, here, come and do this. the town council waived the fee, and they said, they didn't waive my fee, so I don't think that.
I mean, I just wanted.
It's not a liability
I
you're
just-
taking on.
I just wanted to make sure that, I mean, I think it's a great idea and we should do it. I just wanted to make sure that we then we don't have to hire $30,000 worth of inspectors to go and, like, do the inspections.
I can
to
speak for
waive-
myself that I would certainly look at that very differently and not expect you to, to stand by a commitment like that.
If I may make a suggestion, because I think that's a good point, if the motion is to be approved, it should be that the town's portion of these inspection fees and costs be waived. And I think that would address the situation.
That's very reasonable.
Sounds good to me.
Any other discussion?
Madam President,
Council Edwards?
I'd like to make a motion to waive the town's portion of the permitting and plan review fees for the school building repairs.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Town Administrator engagement of legal services regarding title work for open space.
Yes, I'm going to ask Tony to help me out on this one. So,
You want to just go right ahead?
if you got it, please.
Yes. When the town purchases open space, a title search needs to be done, a closing needs to be had, and a title policy needs to issue. And it's not working with having the solicitor do it. I think it's best for the town in the acquisition of open space to have an RFP go out for these title services. And I can tell you that it doesn't come out of the solicitor's budget, actually. What happens is when there's an acquisition, it comes out of the open space funds that the town collects. There needs to be work done with the DEM on this, and matters of that nature. I think it's going to be best and more efficient for the town if you just go out and engage the services of a title attorney. Whenever the town goes to purchase open space, you do have an active open space acquisition program. Since I've been appointed solicitor, there's been a couple of acquisitions. I anticipate more with increased state funding for matters of this nature.
Any questions from the council? I'd like to entertain a motion. The motion is to engage legal services regarding title work for open space.
Yeah, actually request, have an RFP for title services for open space acquisitions.
Councilor Hilton made that motion, correct?
Yes.
I'll second.
So are we actually
Go ahead.
do we have the RFP? So we're approving an RFP?
No.
What you're doing is I've got to actually put something like that together. So you're authorizing an RFP to be drafted. I'll bring it back, and then you can approve it and send it out.
Any other questions?
Yes, that's on, not on the town, that's on open spaces money, right?
That's correct,
So
yes.
should that be in the motion?
Oh, yes. No, because it'll be in the RFP.
Okay, 10-2-10-4, over and out.
Motion's been made in second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Town Administrator discussion on process for hiring police chief.
Yes, thank you. So as we talked about last session, we're still working on a date that Chief Lakey is going to retire officially and leave our employment. We're probably looking at sometime late November, early December. But the process in between is we'll develop a job description. Either I know that the solicitor has access to sort of a standard job description. We'll tailor that a little bit and come back to you in a session or two to have that posted and advertised. The Personnel Board will review that as they normally would and make their screening recommendations to us. What I would like to do, because I don't have the qualifications to be able to qualitatively review these applications, is form a committee of local police chiefs or retired chiefs. I've reached out to Portsmouth, Little Compton, to look at, see if they would be willing to pony up their chiefs. They're more than happy to do that. We'll be able to find a team of 3 or 5 to review these and then make a recommendation to me so that I can interview them and then make a recommendation to the council for a higher recommendation. So that's the process we'll follow over the next several months.
Madam President,
Councilor Edwards?
just a quick question, I guess for Solicitor Nancy, but wouldn't that first go through the Personnel Board?
Yes.
Yes.
No, I
Yes.
said that, yes, I'm sorry, yeah, you missed it.
Yes.
So it's a, I guess, 3 or 4 step process. Advertise, Personnel Review Board, this special board, and then me, and then the 5th would be you.
Okay. Do you need anything from us, or you're all set?
At the moment, no.
Okay. Town clerk scheduling a comprehensive community plan public hearings.
Well, I just put it on there so that the council could give me an idea as to when they want to work on the comprehensive plan public hearings, because it might take a few, and I'm trying to schedule.
Keep in mind, we still haven't come up with a date for the workshop for the building department, have we?
Well, that's going to be on,
I-
that's going to be on September 26th.
All right, I was,
Unless
okay.
it went before, that's what I'm holding, and no one else.
Nobody else
I
is,
never
so,
could get a date where
All right.
I could get a quorum
so
present.
September 26th will be there. Okay, so the comprehensive plan, you're figuring at least schedule 3 meetings right off the bat?
Well, you're gonna need a couple. You can take them by elements, by sections. You don't have to do the whole thing at once, but we'd have to re-advertise in between each one, right?
That's correct, yes.
And is that a 3-time advertisement because of zoning or no?
Yes.
Councilor Hilton?
Madam President, I was going to ask Nancy, I mean, it might take 3 times, but I'm not sure it will, only because based on the number of public meetings that happened around the comprehensive plan and the number of times that the planning board has seen it. So maybe we should start with 2 and maybe pick 1 evening and 1 Saturday. That way people who, are Saturday morning for a little while, and see if we schedule and advertise 2, maybe that will cover us. And then if we need another one, but at least that way, we might find that after 2, everybody who wanted to say something was heard.
So how many weeks do you have to advertise?
I have to advertise. It has to be out at least 3 weeks, so we couldn't
Okay.
really do anything
Until
till
the end of
beginning
October. Oh, yeah,
Well,
the week of
sometime
October
in
9th.
October, after the first week.
And Mondays are out because they're doing the,
Charter Review
The Charter
Commission
Review.
has, they have booked every other Monday that the council doesn't meet.
and a lot of people would like
Charter
to be at
Review,
that
you'd
meeting
be-
and at
yeah.
our meeting.
The whole idea of them doing it in between was for people to be able to attend.
What's a good day? Are Tuesdays a good day? In general?
Are we talking October 10th?
That's the
That's a
town
council
council meeting
meeting.
because of Columbus Day.
The
I was
17th 's
I was
planning board.
I was thinking the 3rd, but does that give you enough time? No, that's not 3 weeks.
No, that's the planning board meeting too. If you're gonna do it on a Tuesday, the first one would be October 24th. You might be able to do a Saturday before, but you really don't have much time
So
to do
the-
it before that.
Okay, is October 24th okay with everyone?
I will make it okay for myself.
Okay, so that'll be the first one. Is that all right with
And-
you, Randy? Yeah?
Yeah, as long as it's
And
not
that will
Thursday.
be
I know.
here, and that will be here, and I guess we could just continue it to another date if we had the Saturday date certain. So I put it in the ad all at
So you
once.
want to do the Saturday after that?
Actually, either the 21st or the 28th.
28th?
After that, you're going into November.
Yeah, let me just think for a moment.
I think we were shooting for beginning of 2017, or 2018.
Yeah, but we,
Or we had-
yeah. But this may take some time, John. It might not only take 2 meetings.
How about
Um,
November 4th?
Is the 21st and 28th not good?
The 28th is fine for me. Is that fine for everybody, a Saturday, the 28th?
What are we talking? Saturday, October 28th?
Yeah. And
What time?
I guess we'll start at 9 or,
9 a.m.?
No, not 9 PM, Joe. All right, 9 AM. What?
28th?
Oh. So
Oh,
you
yeah,
have,
that's not a good date then. November 4th's probably a better date.
yeah, I kept thinking that that's right around Halloween. Is November 4th good for you, Joe? No. Well, you know what?
I might have to.
Why can't we do trunk or treat? Trunk or treat doesn't start till like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock.
Oh,
Yeah, we could do like a 9 to 12.
You start at 9.
Randy's gonna want to decorate his coffin, but we could get him to
A
do
lot of
that.
people want me in it.
I know. Well, you were last time.
No, they really
Oh,
want
I
me.
didn't mean it that way. All right, so 9 AM, the comp plan, October 28th.
Madam President.
Yes.
I have a little issue with the comp plan. I don't know if it's going to be an issue or not be an issue, but Council Lady Hilton wrote most of it, and I don't know if we need an ethics, I don't know, what do they call it? If she could be able to vote on this comp plan. Yeah, because she wrote it, and I don't know
I
if it's
don't
going to be.
think she wrote
Well,
it.
I'm just asking the attorney if,
It goes to whether or not she stands to make a financial gain from it, and I think the answer is no.
okay, then I'm good.
Point of order, Madam President. May I just clarify something about that?
Go ahead.
I was a member of the Community Comprehensive Plan Committee, and there were lots of meetings and everybody's input. But when it came down time to actually do the editing, to actually take what each subcommittee wanted to do, there were very few volunteers that would actually do the editing and go update the charts and do all those sorts of things. So I edited 2 sections of the Community Comprehensive Plan, but I did not write them. The subcommittees that I worked on came up with everything and then approved them as a whole, and then the larger Community Comprehensive Plan Committee went through everybody's work as well. So I might have been the editor, but I am not certainly the sole author.
Thank you, but he already cleared that up, so there was no
Thank
need.
you. Well, I think she had the right to clarify what her role was in this, Randy, so it's okay. We'll move on. We've made the dates, and our next thing would be the town administrator charter review inputs and suggestions. I don't know about the rest of you, but we've been quite busy, so I don't have any input or suggestions right now. I don't know if any of you worked on it.
I could rattle a few off the top of my
Right.
head, but we want something more formal.
What meeting did they want us to be at? Monday, right?
I don't-
Nancy, didn't they?
It was the,
September 18th. Maybe we could ask them to give us a couple of weeks when,
they do have the forms even right online. You can get, right on the website. You can download them, or I could put some in the council boxes if you need them, or even email it
but,
to you.
but what did they expect of us September 18th? I don't remember.
September 18th, they wanted the council to go before them with any suggestions they might have or any comments to it.
Well, this is what I'm going to suggest to you. If you all don't mind, I'll call Rob Coulter, and I'll ask him to postpone our hearing for at least a month, and we can try to work on it.
I like that. And more to that point, too, I think that gives us the opportunity to see what they're doing.
Yeah, I haven't really been keeping track, but I'll...
I think the treasurer and I are both on that day, so I'm just letting you know, I will be doing the FTR and
You will
things
be.
that involve.
And I'll go to the meeting, but I don't think the
Well,
council's...
I'm just letting you
it's
know
quite
that's
ready.
my night too, so I
Okay.
will be doing at least what needs to be adjusted in that part.
All right, I'll give Rob Coulter a call and see if we could come to the committee a month from now or so. Bids and requests, there are none. Town administrator announcements, departmental 5-year plan.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. That's, at this point, some old business really given for your information. As you can see, there's still a couple departments that are working on, but that is, we've got a pretty good number of them. They're for your review. Consider them to be the aspirations of your department heads. And they're not, obviously not town policy, but they are what they're trying for, whether it's manning levels or investment in infrastructure, IT, and so forth. This is what, as I sit down with them to develop the fiscal 19 budget, I will expect them to hew to what they say they want. If they come up with something that isn't in the plan, they're going to have to explain that. And we'll work, these will be updated at least on an annual basis, but more often as something comes up and they realize, hey, I need to add this initiative for something, they'll go in here. These will be maintained. They'll be on the website under my section, just as your goals are under your section. And as I say, these are the blueprints upon which, from the administration's point of view, we'll be recommending things for you to purchase or to approve, or initiatives to follow, and so forth.
Madam President,
Yes.
since I have been asking for this kind of stuff for the past several months, I just want to say I appreciate it so much. And it's like, I understand it was Paul's drive, but it was also a lot of department heads and directors were also highly involved in it. And I just want to say thank you. I think it looks great. I know it's a draft, but it still looks great. I don't feel like I'm walking in the dark anymore. It's kind of like I can see the plans, I can see where you're going, and it's just very helpful. So I just wanted to say thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Grant database?
Same thing. We talked about this several months ago. There's still a couple holes in it that will get filled in, but this now is a reference for you that when there is a discussion about the use of a grant or the application for a grant, you now have something to go to, look at, and say, well, it's a 50% match, or you can't use it for that, or whatever the case may be. But you do have some reference that is pretty comprehensive.
And I thank you because I've been looking for this for a long time, and thank you for preparing it. It'll definitely help during budget time, too. Council announcements? Council Edwards?
Thank you. Just one, and more something I wanted to announce to the council I think we should take a look at doing is evaluating, how we move forward with discussions, and I would really like to, at some future meeting, have a discussion relative to implementing in our practices time limits for both ourselves while speaking and also for those who approach the mic, so we can move things along a little bit quicker.
We can put that in the future on an agenda.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other announcements? Town solicitor? Town clerk? We will not be going into closed executive session. There was a distribution of the quarterly litigation report for discussion, and that will be discussed on September 25th. I'd like now to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor? Unanimous.